Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Medford Knives Slim Midi Marauder. Now this knife is the Tonto version. This does come in both drop point and Tonto. This is going to be a quick first impressions video. This is not a full review. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of size comparisons or anything like that. I might do just a couple just to show you because this knife is kind of an interesting size. But I just wanted to give you some quick thoughts from my first handling of this knife and also some of the issues I ran into. So right off the bat, this is the S here means S35VN, so this is S35VN. Medford Knives comes in a couple of different steels usually. They have D2 versions of knives. I don't think they have a D2 version of the Slim Midi, but they have an S35 version, they have an S90V version, and they do have 3V versions of other knives, but I don't think of the Slim Midi. This is a titanium frame lock, as you can see here, and what's interesting about it is they all come in different configurations. So you can get PVD coated blade, you can get PVD coated hardware, you can get PVD coated titanium here, you can get sculpted and milled titanium, you can get anodized titanium, flame anodized titanium, all sorts of different stuff, and you can do all different combinations of it. So there's lots of nice things, and it makes the knives kind of, when you get sculpting like this, this is a one-of-a-kind knife. They do sculpting, but the sculpting is slightly different each time on each of the knives they do, and I really like the idea that this is a unique knife. There is no other knife exactly like this one. So that's definitely one of the things that I like. I like the milled pocket clip, the way it's curved around, so those are some of the things aesthetically that struck me right away. I also love the Tonto here. It has a hollow grind on the bottom and a flat grind here up by the Tonto, which is really good because the hollow grind means that it's really thin and slicey by the tip, but it is, and I mean really thin and slicey, it's much slicier than you expect. And the flat here means that this tip is more reinforced than where the hollow grind is. So that is a great thing. Like I said, this does also come in drop point. I was also struck by the fact that the action on this was actually pretty good. Right off the bat, coming out of this, I've heard and felt with the G that I had that the action was just it's on phosphor bronze washers. The tolerances are tight, so the action usually on them wasn't good. It also has a light blade, but the action on this is actually it's very, very nice. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with the action on it. But what I really wanted to talk about was a couple of issues that I had with it. In addition to the action just impressing me right off the bat, a couple of issues that I had with it that I think the company is going to take care of, but I did want to point out because it's something to be aware of if you're interested in getting one of these knives. First of all is that and by the way, you can Spidey flick this out pretty easily in case you're wondering about that. Very, very nice in that regard, and the finger choil is very good and usable. But what I really wanted to talk about was the lock bar. Okay, so the lock bar is, a lot of people have mentioned the fact that there's no lock bar access. There's some sort of faux access here where it gets a little thin over here, and you can see the lock bars here, and it's thinned out here. I don't know why they necessarily make this relief cut. I kind of think that the lock bar would be better without this relief cut. And then you, of course, have your lock bar relief right there. But this particular knife came with two major issues. One is really, 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 really bad lock stick. I mean, I'm pushing pretty hard right now, and they're just disengaged, but it's very, very difficult to disengage this, and the lock stick is pretty bad. This is probably the worst lock stick on a knife I've ever had, and this is brand new out of the box from DLT Trading. So that was a concern. So I emailed Greg Medford about two things. Well, let me tell you about the second thing first. So the second issue is that this knife, people talk about how the detent on this is great and you can't shake them out, but the truth is I can shake it out. And in fact, if I lift the camera up a little bit, you can see it just shakes out completely here into, it shakes completely open. You can see that again here. That time it didn't shake completely open, but let's try that one more time. Yeah, so shaking it just shakes it completely open. The detent there is not as good as it could be. It's pretty soft, and so I was a little worried this would open up in my pocket, especially when I carried it in my left pocket, because my left pocket, is here. I'm worried that it'll open up like this. So right now I've only been carrying it in my right pocket, but I was a little concerned about it, so I emailed Medford, and literally, within an hour, I had an email back from Greg Medford, actually himself, which was pretty impressive, and he let me know that, hey, just send it in to me, I'll take a look at it, and if anything's wrong, I'll take care of it. So I do plan on sending it in, but I was very impressed with that from a customer service standpoint, especially since people sort of crucify Greg Medford regarding the warranty and how he deals with people who take knives apart and things like that. He seems to really be on top of trying to take care of the customer. So there's a couple of things that I really wanted to accomplish by this video. The first is to let you know that there are a couple of issues you should just be aware of if you're looking at this knife. And one of them is that there could be potential lock stick, although many other YouTube reviewers have reviewed this knife, and I don't think they had the same issue. So there is potential lock stick. The detent on this doesn't seem to be as strong as some of the other Medford knives that I've had, although this could be the exception to the rule rather than the rule. And the other issue is the lock bar itself. So the lock stick wouldn't be such a problem. See, I'm like really pushing here. The lock stick wouldn't be such a problem if this bar was thicker. Because it gets so thin over there, my thumb is just completely torn up and bruised from trying to open this thing. And, it's my thumb, my pointer on this hand, my thumb, my pointer on this hand, from trying to, break this in. What I was trying to do with it is break in the lock bar by opening the knife, shifting it over, closing it, opening the knife, shifting it over, closing it. And it seems to be working to an extent, but, the lock stick is still pretty bad on it. I will say one other thing. The reason lock stick is bad is because when I tried to, open it the normal way, it wasn't working. So I, turned it this way to use my pointer. And when I was able to disengage it, right now I'm having difficulty because my pointer is so bruised up from this. When I was able to disengage it, I ended up closing it on my finger, which is how that happened. Reminder, guys, knives are sharp. So, it's a potential safety hazard in that regard. I know in general, I'm used to sort of opening knives like that. This is, by the way, one of the other Medfords that I have. This is the infraction, but I'm used to sort of doing it this way. So that isn't really an issue for me, except when I have this issue with the lock stick, because I just wasn't prepared for, how much force it was going to take to pull that lock bar over. So the one other thing I'll mention is that there is no lock bar over travel stop. I don't think it's that much of an issue because, the knife is built overall pretty well. But, if you have lock stick like this and you're really trying to force it over, you do run the risk of forcing it too far over because you're using too much force. So a couple of things, like I said, I want to point out. I will say overall, this is an excellent, sort of EDC carry. I was really surprised by how good it is. In fact, I was talking about some size comparisons potentially at the top of this video. And so I do want to show you a couple of things. I don't want to go into full size comparisons, but I just want to show you some thickness. This is a really thin blade. So I was expecting something like this, which is the infraction. And you can see that the infraction versus the Slim Midi is, night and day, right? Thickness. Now you can look at this is the Benchmade Griptilian, and the Slim Midi is thinner than the Griptilian. This is the Paramilitary 2, and the Slim Midi is thinner than the Paramilitary 2. This is the Benchmade Bugout, and the Slim Midi is slightly thicker than the Bugout. And actually the most comparable knife to this, size-wise, is probably going to be the Spyderco Spidey Chef. This is basically the same size, and you can see here with the Spyderco Spidey Chef, it's not only the same size thickness, but it's pretty much the same size knife. So if you guys were, anybody who owns a Spidey Chef, and loves the size of it, and you've been, sleeping on Medford and not wanting to get a Medford because they're, massively big, overbuilt knives, That is true for things like the Infraction, which is a great EDC size lengthwise, but is very thick. And there's a lot of, the larger Marauders are going to be very large, but this Slim Midi is literally, it's the Spidey Chef in a Medford form, as far as size is concerned, which is great. So that's really what I want to get across in this first impressions video. This is kind of an informal, it's not really a review. That's why there's not really a true format to this. But I wanted to just get this video out to you guys in case you guys are on the market for a Slim Midi. I know some larger YouTube channels have recently put out videos on the Slim Midi. So like me, you may be looking to get one. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up on some of the good, some of the bad that you notice right away on the first impressions. Go ahead and drop a like on this video if you thought it was helpful. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought if you own one of these. If you have any problems or things like lock stick or any interactions with Medford's warranty, I'd love to hear about it. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. Thank you.